随着堪培拉变得越来越火，越来越多的中国学生选择到堪培拉大学去读中学教育的硕士。那么堪培拉作为占全澳市场份额非常小的教育岗位的提供者，能否让我们所有的学生都找到工作呢？今天我们就来把一些数据好好的挖一挖。
Some parents and students are really concerned about the market size of Canberra because it's not a big city as big as Sydney and Melbourne. And I also checked with the Job and Skill Australia saying that the teaching staff in Canberra accumulates just 1.something% of the overall Australian teaching industry. So what do you think of the market size? Is it quite enough for our international student to get a job?
首页找到我，了解更多澳洲、新西兰留学移民资讯。
I would say so, yes. Although a statistic like 1.5% of the total teaching force in Australia sounds like Canberra is very small, I've yet to experience teaching a subject myself or being in a school when the subject of employment of my students has not come up. I suppose 1.5% of the total suggests that a larger city might have more prospects, and that might be true. But I've yet to experience there being a lack of prospects in Canberra. There's been a teacher shortage in Australia. It has put people studying teaching into an unusual position of power because it creates what we might call a seller's market. My students who are fielding multiple offers of work. I don't think that there's a lack of opportunities for teaching in Canberra.
Since you already mentioned the seller market, I'm thinking of the supply and demand. UC is the only, I would say, supplier of teacher in Canberra, right?
Yeah, but I would still say that the University of Canberra overall has the deepest roots across all of the schools and school systems within our region.
Yeah. Can you please share some data of the graduate of UC teaching programs every year?
Okay, sure.
And is there any increase recently?
Yes, about 95% of the graduates of our teaching courses go on to find work in teaching. That's actually been quite reliable over the time I've been employed at UC.
So 95% of employment rate is really high.
Yes, it's one of the most stable and reliable careers, I think, at least when we think about professional careers, what we might call white-collar work.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Now, how about the number of graduate or the number of enrollment?
It takes a while for graduates to sort of move their way through, and the period of my work where I've had access to a lot of data about these things hasn't suggested a major change in the number of graduates, but what we're starting to see is a significant rise in the number of students choosing to commence a teaching qualification. So I think this year, 2026, we had over 700 students commence a teaching qualification.
700, including the local student and
that would be both domestic and international students, yes. And where we're seeing the biggest rise, we've got about a 25% rise overall, which is quite significant in just 1 year.
Yeah.
It's particularly pronounced at the master's level. So we have a Master of Primary Teaching, the Master of Secondary Teaching, and the Master of Secondary Teaching has an enormous rise this year. We had over 150% rise from 2025 in the number of students who commenced study of that course. And for the first time in my experience at UC, we're now starting to see that the international students enrolling in that Master of Secondary Teaching outweigh the domestic students.
Wow.
So greater than 50% of the students who started the Master of Secondary Teaching this year are international students.
Well, that sounds a big rise. So what would be the specific numbers for the Master of Secondary?
Around about 60 students,
60
probably.
international into Master of Secondary.
Yeah.
That's still a small cohort.
Yeah.
Compared with many uni in big city.
That's true, but sometimes with a relatively small cohort, you can gain quite a lot.
Yes.
So I tend to think that because we're a smaller university, with a smaller cohort, we have a more intimate experience and a more personalized experience.
Yeah. The teacher and the student know each other.
Australian universities market themselves. They often draw attention to things like the weight of their research or the strength of the institution itself. Sometimes you see posters that have like a big steel and glass tower.
Yeah.
That's not really the University of Canberra. We don't have any big steel and glass towers. What we do have in our marketing is an emphasis on people in the way we advertise our courses. And I think that's because we like to think of ourselves as a very personal university. Bespoke is sometimes a word that we use to describe our courses and the support that we provide to students. I think in some universities, if you're trying to find an academic support or a source of support for your well-being, you might be on the phone to someone who reroutes you to a call center somewhere else.
You can never find the person you want.
That's right. I think at UC, you're likely to know the name of that person and where they are, and you'll know which office to go to. So I think these relationships are what define our university and the way that we approach it.
How many Chinese students are actually enrolled in this program?
I feel confident in saying in that Master of Secondary Teaching, for example, where we have a greater than 50% cohort of international students, I would say China is probably the biggest represented group
of international
in that set of international students.
澳新留学移民，记得找考拉联合哦。